All right. So now we're going to get into something really fun. I call it parts work, and I also call it my roundtable for problem solving because this is really going to be about you and all the lovely versions of who you are. Because one thing I do know for a fact is that you are not just one dimensional or first dimensional, but you have several parts to you. They're also known as personalities or values, beliefs, moods, and dimensions. And that's what makes you unique. So, this entire lesson is going to be just about that. It's like what makes you unique, what makes you different, what makes you stand out. But more importantly, when you understand all these different versions of you, how can you become a better problem solver for yourself? So, one thing that we talked about earlier was doubt. And when people are experiencing doubt, they're double minded, which means they have two parts of their brain saying different things about someone or a problem or etc. So we're trying to eliminate doubt because if we have doubt, as you learned in our creation formula, you're not going to be able to manifest your goals or achieve your goals as quickly as you want. So this is all about getting you to where you want to be, quote unquote, faster. Da, da, da. So this is why we actually care about this and why you're going to want to know it. Now, this is a little bit fun because it's not going to be anything quite like you're used to when it comes to problem solving. But essentially, there's going to be between 5 and 11 versions of you existing at one given time. Now, we just went over the versions, what that meant, but 5 and 11, that seems like a bit of a range. So let me explain that real quick. So, what I'm trying to say is when we're younger, we don't really like have the complexities of life. And for those of you all that like psychology, think of like Jung or Freud. They tend to talk about these things. I think I put Freud, but it doesn't matter. He's not my favorite anyways. So, but as we get older, we become more complex. And that's because we're learning more. And that's good. So, when we have like 5, it's when we're younger. But also, as we get way older, we're still happy when we're older. We got the life of our dreams. We just, I don't know, maybe we put like a cane in someone's hand, symbolize that they're older. I don't think I'm going to have a cane when I'm older, though. I'm too much of a yogi. But essentially, we get more simple because we realize that life really isn't that complicated. But during this range of time, between 13 to probably around 65, we're going to have between 5 and 11. And that's perfectly great because we need however many of these versions that we have of ourselves to accomplish our goals. So, we're going to get into what it means to have different versions of yourself. I'm going to do that actually through an example of myself. We're going to ride an orange and be happy. Huge. Gorgeous. So, all of us are going to start out with a version of ourselves that's like our child. Little air is what I call mine. And little air can also be known to other people as tiny or child or baby, maybe even young. So I call her Little Air, but Little Air is my playful girl. She's my child. She's playful, she's fun, she likes excitement. And that Little Air is actually the oldest out of all the airs. But she's that child at heart. And this is going to become important because we're going to talk about problem solving here in a moment in something I like to call the round table. And these different parts that we have are all going to have a seat at this table, which means they're going to have a vote. And that's how we're going to actually really start to do problem solving without having to go to other people to solve all of our problems. And that is freedom and that is autonomy. So that's where we're going. So I'm going to make a little bit of a tally as we go along. So little air, that's my first one. Okay. Well, then we get into what most people know is the ego. And you best believe it, there is an ego air. And for my ego, I have every emotion except for love. Now, I do have love, don't worry. It's just a different version of my airs. But ego air is very valuable because ego air helps me survive. She helps me with my emotions. She helps me process things. She has my best interest at heart. And that's going to become important because every version of you matters. There's no higher version than the other ones. They're all going to be important. We're going to get into that later when we talk about leadership at the round table. But we're going to keep going because odds are you have some version of ego. So I call her ego air. But we also have, how would you say it? Ego air, personality, diva, superstar. You're getting the point. All very important for the cause here. So that would be the second version that I have at my round table. So now we're already at two. And everybody has this version. They just call it something different. Okay, so now I'm going to move my tally over here. 1, 2. So we're going to start getting exciting here because everyone has a version of logic. Now I call her logical air. Super simple with this, right? But others may call them analytical, scientist, STEM, smart, wise. They all come into play. But basically, this is your version of yourself that's very practical, very smart, makes good decisions based off of facts and reasons. Now, you may not lead with your logical air, your logical Alice or logical Susan, DeLaw, Henry, whatever, but you're going to have one. And that's great because they're all again going to this table. So as we're going to this table here, we're going to keep going along. Most of you all are going to have some type of leader. And this leader can be spiritual or can be reason-based. Ooh, this is not want to write. Reason. Reason. As you can see, I do not lead with my reason one. Therefore, I can't even write with it. Reason-based. So you may think of like a CEO if you're thinking more reason. You may think of like a guru if you're thinking more spiritual. So I actually call mine spiritual air because I do tend to lead more on the spiritual side than I do on my CEO side, even though I'm both. Now, here's the important part about leadership. It's just because you have a leader in your group doesn't mean that they're making all the decisions. They're just there to kind of guide the process. Because your round table is going to be a democracy. As in, everyone has a vote, and that vote from the leader is one vote unless they really have to get involved for a higher cause. And I have an example of that. Okay, let's keep going. Now you've got your leader, and now you have one more that's critical, and this one is your survivor. Some people call them peaceful, warrior, maybe a fighter. But their entire point, survivor, is to help you survive. It's your primal instinct. Your oh, there's one more that's kind of funny that I hear it called. Your caveman. This is really being finicky today. Cave man or woman. But those are your top 5. You're always going to have those. Now remember, during a certain age group, there's going to be more than 5. And I particularly have 7. Okay? So I'm going to give you 2 more of mine. And then I'll give you other examples. Okay? So 2 more that I have is my heart air, which is also known as the lover, the romantic, you name it. So that lover is all about, just as you saw, the emotions, the love. And then lastly, at my round table, I have model air. Now, model air is known as your alter ego. And we all have one. It's kind of the mask that we tend to put on for the world. And they say in spirituality, our goal is to take off the mask as much as we possibly can throughout our lifetime. So that is my round table setup. Round table setup, where each of them are going to have a chair and be able to make these decisions with me when I have a problem that comes up in my life, and they're going to vote on it. So this is going to be the foundational part to my round table setup. But now I want to get into some other types, because you're going to have a little bit of homework here. And these are types that may be part of your round table at a certain point in your life or certain time in your life. Okay. Ooh, that was so big. I love it. Okay. All right. So let's give some examples here. You can have mother slash father. For those of you all that have gotten to that point, you could have CEO slash teacher, mentor. And then you can start having like personalities, like the gardener, health guru, the artist. And you're going to find at different points in your life that these will come up. But for now, we're going to pause and go to part 2, which is where we're going to start doing our problem solving and why the round table exists.